So I'm a bit late. Hey guys, how is everybody doing? Bad Boys Ride or Die is now officially playing in theaters, which I have to wait a little bit more because issues apparently. So yeah, I'm a bit late with the other two reviews. Shit happened. I graduated middle school and family things. Wanted to celebrate, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I'm a bit late, so you're gonna be getting this video today, and hopefully you'll get Bad Boys Ride or Die, not Ride or Die, Bad Boys for Life review. Hopefully Sunday in mid-afternoon at least. That's what I'm hoping to do, but we shall see. We shall see what life has in store for me, and we shall see what time does for me. But nevertheless, here are my thoughts on Bad Boys 2. Wasting no time and starting off with the positives on Bad Boys 2 is something that is a huge improvement over the first movie. Not that the first movie needed improvement, but the one thing that I do think that the first movie scales down on is the action, and the action in this movie is fucking amazing. The action from beginning to end is a huge step up from the first movie. Now, I will admit it does kind of go too far and tries to do too much, which Michael Bay does. It's a Michael Bay movie because this is at the point of Michael Bay's career where he became top notch Michael Bay. This is the Michael Bay we do know, where it's like no story, no character development, just huge explosions and a lot of action. That is what Michael Bay is, and that's what all Bad Boys 2 is. And I'll have my issues with it that I'll get into later. But the action in this movie is great. Where my favorite action sequence is when they go to the one place to question the one guy, and he kind of is like, "Who's in my home? I'm the devil."
Who that? Who in my house? I'm the devil. Who's asking?
That whole shootout and that one like cool it looked like a cool like one shot drone type shot where it's just like going in circles, just showing the bad guys behind the wall, and Mike Lowrey just like standing there doing the badass stance with two guns like this. Like that whole action sequence is great. Probably my favorite action sequence in this movie, and like the big opening of the movie when they go after the Ku Klux Klan and all that, when they're in that huge shootout there, that's a great sequence. Or when like they're driving on the highway, when it kind of starts off small, when it just seems like a small chase scene and a small car chase scene, and then it slowly just starts to expand where more people get involved and more shit starts to happen. The action in this movie is fucking amazing. I do believe it's better than the first movie, probably the best of the franchise, if I'm not mistaken, but we'll see with the new one. But yeah, the action in this movie, it's great. It's better than the first movie, but this is where Michael Bay kind of came top notch. Michael Bay. Small little note that I really liked about the movie, and it's not like a huge positive, but it's something that I do want to mention, and the Shaky Tail Feather song. It's a very iconic song, and it came from this movie, and it's like the first movie when I mentioned the Bad Boys theme. It doesn't play, the Bad Boys theme doesn't really play much in the first movie, and Shaky Tail Feather, it doesn't play too much in this movie either. It only plays in certain moments of the movie when, like, Marcus and Mike are kind of fucking around and all that. That's when it really plays, but like, it doesn't really play much, but I do like how the song originated from this movie, and yeah, it's a good song. I like it. It's catchy. It's a small little note that I wanted to mention. Yeah, not a huge positive, but something that I do like about the movie is the villain of this movie. And now, again, he's not fully memorable. I don't really even remember his name, but I do think he's a pretty cool villain to where he's like a very simple villain. Like, this whole movie is very simple to where he's a very simple villain to where he's basically just a crime boss. He's a crime boss that wants all power. He'll do whatever he wants. He'll fuck people up if he needs to, and he kills cops. He basically he's a gangster. And what I like about the villain is that he reminds me a lot of Tony Montana from Scarface. That is kind of what his villain is like, with like how crazy he is and how far he's willing to go to do something or to get something from someone. I like the villain because he does not fuck around, and again, he just reminds me a lot of Tony Montana. I don't know why, but the entire time I was just watching it, it's just like this guy reminds me of Scarface, like the crime boss like guy who deals drugs that ends up killing people. He'll fuck people up to get certain things, like where he makes this guy sign away his business or whatever to him, or else he'll kill his son and his wife. And like this guy, he's not overly threatening in a way. I guess I could say he's not really overly excuse me, overly threatening, but I do think he's a pretty cool villain, and he's a entertainment one. Something in this movie that I prefer over the first movie is I do like how this movie does more detective stuff going on to where Mike and Marcus are both detective cops, but in the first movie I never really got that in the first movie. It just felt like they were two buddies that were cops that just like to shoot a bunch, but in this movie they do a lot of detective work of finding what they need to find, like where the drugs are, they're investigating corpses in the mortuary. Like this movie actually has Mike and Marcus do detective like things and actually go undercover a lot. Now, they do go undercover a little bit in the first movie, but I never felt like they were detectives, and I would always forget that unless until Captain Howard be like Detective Mike or Detective Marcus or something like that. Like I never really got that, but in this movie it really kind of shows you that they are. It's not. It's I don't think a lot of people would talk about that. I might look weird even mentioning it, but yeah, I'm a huge sucker for detective shows and detective things and like detective movies. So I was really kind of glad to see that for some reason because it was just cool to see that to where they really go undercover and try to like fucking fuck with the villains and all that. Because I don't know, it was just cool to see that and it's something that they didn't do in the first movie, so I was happy to see that in the second one. On to my mixed aspects now, this is not something that really overly bothers me about the movie, but it's something that I felt just didn't need to be there, and that is the subplot. It's a very small subplot, but that's the subplot of Mike and Marcus's sister dating and having like a relationship throughout this movie. They introduce it really early on in the beginning of the movie at Marcus's barbecue with his family. They really introduce that, but throughout the movie they keep playing with it and they keep showing you that, but it never really bothered me because it's not overly in it much, but the entire time it was just there. I personally felt like it didn't need to be there. I honestly felt it never needed to be there. I felt that if they took it out, it wouldn't change anything in the story. It really doesn't do anything to the story. I feel it was only there to create some sort of tension in the movie and some sort of tension for Marcus's sister more in a way, but I don't know. I felt it just didn't need to be there, but it's there. I can't change it, but it never overly bothered me. It's not really fully in the movie, but it comes back every now and then. And it's reminding you, and you're like, "Ah, shit!" Like again. It never overly bothered me, but it just didn't need to be there. Moving on to my negatives. One of my biggest negatives about this movie is that this movie gets too silly with its comedy. Now, there are some moments where the comedy is pretty good, especially with Mike. I think he's the standout of the comedy in this movie this time. But where I feel it gets too silly and where the comedy doesn't overly work and doesn't work out for me personally is with Marcus, unfortunately. Marcus is basically treated as a fucking joke throughout the entire movie, especially in the beginning when he gets shot in the ass. Yeah, he gets shot in the fucking ass in this movie. Like, in the beginning of the movie, they're at the shootout, the Kuzcus clan, and he shoots, and Mike shoots at one of them, and it like grazes Marcus's ass, and then shoots and then hits the other guy. Like just that alone, and just Marcus throughout the entire movie. Like when he accidentally drank the drug in this movie that's in it. It's basically like it's a basically a hormones drug to where you basically get horny or some shit like that. And he drinks that, and then when they go to the captain's house, he's doing these all weird, goofy shit that like a girl would do. I guess I don't know if that sounds weird, but I don't know. It's mostly Marcus, so where the comedy gets too silly to where the comedy doesn't overly work for me. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't hate the comedy in this movie. I think the comedy is always great with the Bad Boys movies, but in this movie, it just in the first movie, it wasn't as bad to where the comedy I felt was really fucking hilarious. To where it starts off at like an 8, but this movie just basically turns it up to a 12. That's basically how the comedy is in this movie. My final negative, I feel this movie tries to do too much, not just in the action department because of Michael Bay, but in story wise. It doesn't know what story it wants to be because this movie's a drug bust movie. There's a love story between Mike and Marcus's sister. There's fusion with Mike and Marcus not being partners anymore, and Marcus doesn't want to be Mike's partner anymore, and trying to take down this drug lord, and the drug lord wanting to have something from this other drug lord There's so much shit going on in this movie to where this movie gets too long, to where it doesn't know what it wants to do, so it just does all of it to make it one big 2 hour action movie. This movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes long. That is too fucking long for a Bad Boys movie. A Bad Boys movie should be uh, just a fun 2 hour long movie, but Michael Bay decides to add like 30 more minutes to the fucking runtime because he wants to do this story, that story, this story, that story. And it doesn't know what it wants to do, so it just does all of them. And a lot of them don't need to fucking be there, and when you think there's going to be a cool payoff to it, they just kill it off at the very end. Like with the drug lord wants something else from this other drug lord. He goes there to get revenge and kind of fucking kill him. But he kills like two dudes, and when he goes in there to kill everybody, he gets shot immediately and he dies. That's what goes on in this fucking movie. But it's a Michael Bay movie, so what the fuck should I expect? All in all, guys, Bad Boys 2, I do think it's a good follow-up from the first movie. I do believe that this movie just shows that this franchise is very consistent all along, but this movie does get a little too overlong, I feel. But if you were a fan of the first one, you're definitely going to like this one. I can actually see a lot of people preferring this over the first one, but I don't quite get that because I have my issues as I listed. But yeah, Bad Boys 2, it's a damn fun time. If you like the first one, you're definitely going to at least enjoy this one, but I don't think you'll prefer it over the first movie, but I do think you'll at least enjoy it. So, Bad Boys 2, I do think is still worth checking out. So, what do you guys think about Bad Boys 2? Have you seen it? What do you think about it? Do you prefer it over the first movie? Do you prefer the first movie? Do you think it's just as good as the first movie, or do you just think it's a solid installment all in all? Let me know in the comments below, and we shall talk about it. If you like this video, like it. If you love it, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you will get notified for all of my latest videos and for my review of Bad Boys for Life. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, see you all next time.